Kia ora whānau. So we thought we'd do a bit of an update video this week on this section of the food forest that we did a few months ago on our Patreon account. So you would have seen, for example, this plum tree be a massive tree that we cut down and pruned, so it's regrowing. We have our bana grass shooting up again. We've got all the ground covers that we've put in going off into senescence, so urgently need to come in and do another intervention. The flame trees that we pollarded have bounced back beautifully to massive big pompons, so for summer it's been great, giving everything a bit of that shade. Everything's reaching that desperate senescent stage and in need of another intervention. We also popped in a banana where we had a bit of moisture coming off from our driveway, so we'll see how that does over the frost. We are just below the frost mark in this zone, and plums starting to come on, so we want to open up that mid zone for the plums too, so they don't get any mold on them. They have enough ventilation coming through, so that might entail taking off some of those regrowth flame tree branches and opening up some of the understory to create that ventilation. But yeah, here's Klaus, and he'll take it away with a bit more details.
Yeah, what can I add to that? Remember the cherry moya tree that was here? We planted that about 10 years ago together with some albicias and so, which is long gone. It was not a terribly thriving tree, and so we decided to reset it, and now it comes up really strong. Of course we won't get any fruit of it this coming season, but after that it should be pumping. We also took out the loquat there, but instead we put in a sweet chestnut there. So we just shifted priorities here a bit. And now with the management, over Christmas that got also lower priority. These blackouts should have come out a long time ago. We have a full senescence. We got a senescence here with the comfrey, with the milk, with a puha and so on. So as we go in now, we have to use a sickle, because we are practically in placenta 1, or the first half year, where you really lose your nerves in here because it's so messy. Even so, this food forest is already older than we live here, but because we have done such a dramatic setback, it is as if you start the first year. So this is the first intervention, and that's the one where people lose their nerves and don't know what to do, because you don't even know where to put your foot here. So that's where our photographic recognition of plants within a split second is very important, otherwise it will take us forever. So as we go along, we know exactly what we need to leave behind. We will have heaps of growth from flame trees coming up in there, because the branches we put on the ground, we were quite careless about it, because we personally are not worried about it. Might be different for you, but we need to open these up, cut them back. They have done photosynthesis, they have produced biomass for us, and if they're in the way, they have to go. If we find that there's not enough stuff that we wanted there, then we even might leave them for another half year, who knows. But we want to bring some order in here, so we can move around in here without constantly treading on stuff. And then we also have things that we didn't plant in here, that we inherited, like here the Tradescantia. Even so, it's not senescent at the moment. You know, sometimes it makes little white flowers. We are not worried about it. I mean, of course you don't want to bring it into a place, but if you have it already, you might want it not spreading into the forest and things like that. But if you have it already, it is actually a fantastic ground cover. I mean, it thrives in the shade, it holds moisture, it's fire retardant, it stops the erosion that often happens under your food forest when you have such a dense shade that the ground is actually bare. These guys can still live and create this erosion control. However, as we do an intervention, and this is our lowest level, so wherever we have a patch of that, we start with that. And the way we do that is we just sort of rip into it. So obviously we wear gloves because we use tools, and what is annoying with flame trees is you have flame tree mulch and you have spines on it, and then you do that, you can easily get injured by flame tree spines, but of course we wear gloves, not an issue. So we just do that. If you want to reduce the growth of that stuff, then you put it up on a log or something, so they don't all make roots again. But of course this is going to come up again, no doubt about it, and neither would we want to get rid of it, to be honest. It's not a problem. It's overall probably more beneficial, but don't get it if you don't have it already. Yeah, but try to avoid soil contact if you make piles with it, if you want to slow it down a bit. Or ideally we have something like these outs here that are now finished. They are problem free, and then we put the more problematic stuff on top. That way we avoid the roots going straight onto the ground. That's how you can handle elephant grass and flame tree as well, if you don't want them to grow all over the show. Yeah, that's a simple little procedure that you just use as part of second nature as you go along. So Sean, we start with the ground layer. We have to be really careful what's in here. Like, because we used a lot of rough compost in here, there's some avocado trees that came up, and they actually have a future here because it is not a waterlogged soil here, so there might be a future for them there. And we need to thin out some of the whips of the plum tree because we don't want them all like that. It's too much.
Yep.
We thin them out. We expected the tree to possibly die. It didn't. Who knows? Maybe there is future in it still, but we want to keep it low.
Yep.
But we want to keep only a few whips, not the whole lot. Huh? And then these flame tree guys here, whatever is in the way, we take out, because the yakong and the elephant grass and so on is more important to us, and the ability to go around. I see there's a little mulberry there, see that one? Yeah, so all these things we need to watch out for. So careful, don't work too fast. And then also the flame trees that make branches sort of in your eye height, we take those out as well, so we have a safe walking around in there.
Cool.
But we leave the pom-poms up there, possibly through the summer still. But let's assess when we have done everything but the emergent layer, and then we see, do we continue, do we take some of those whips out to make the remaining ones stronger, or we leave the whole pom-pom. We can decide on that later. So let's start from bottom up, and then we pause and reassess.
Nice. So with the yakon, we're going to leave that in, eh? And
yeah, so definitely yakon. Now what happens is the yakon often, since we left it a bit long with these guys, now they're a bit spindly, so as soon as we take the vegetation away from them, they might do that. But it doesn't matter either, then they make new ones in the center. Just get a bit messy, yeah? So the elephant grass at this point we don't touch, because it has no mature canes, and there's no point cutting the top or anything like that. We don't want that. They are doing full speed growth at the moment. We don't want to set them back for no reason. But we want to get all the senescence out, so the little trees and whatnot in there is getting more sunlight, and it can do another jump, huh?
yeah. So with the first sweep, that we've got to be quite careful, eh? Because there's a lot in there that we've got to be mindful of. There's heaps of cuttings and little seedlings and all sorts.
Yeah, definitely. But we guys are well trained. We're gonna figure it out. And I mean, some of those things will die. That's just part of that, and or they come up again. They just reset. That's why we overplant, because it always happens.
Density.
Can't avoid it, you know. So the more you plant, the more survivors. That's how it is. Okay, let's get going into it. Let's get the bottom layer first, and then pause and reassess. And you guys gonna be part of it without the backache. So with the flame trees, because when we dropped it 3 months ago, we just dropped it as it came, and it was a lot of rain, and a lot of those branches obviously do what everybody's afraid of. They make roots and grow. So we have, out of these terraces, we have logs like this one here, making whips, right? And so what's the issue with that? As they were growing in amongst things, they made everything else thrive, because everything wants to go, including those guys. They would still be able, if they have enough light, to fix nitrogen with the first roots that come out. And they, of course, as any other plant, they're going to do photosynthesis. So all these leaves here, they're going to feed sugar into the ground, create biomass, roots throughout the soil and this and that. But now we come along and feel like, oh, but we don't need them here, because they shade our elephant grass, they shade our poplars here that need to be emergent. So they don't have much future here, because they need to be emergent, and if we keep them cut and keep them on the low level, they will give up eventually. So as we do in this intervention, for us they're just another type of green manure, just like the green oats or the broad beans were, and they're finished now. So are these flame trees. They had a chance of doing a bit of green manure, so in the 3 months they did that, right? And that's it, we don't need more of them. So here we use them as mulch. And if you're worried about them growing again, if you are worried, then put them on top of other mulch so they can't make roots, if you're worried about that. So if we had done that, there would have been no regrowth, but we didn't actually worry about it, because it's not an issue for us. Why? Because we know that we're going to be here every 3 months initially, and in the second year twice a year. So that means these guys have no chance to escape and run away on us, right? And that's essential, that you are present, that you are actually doing the work, the interventions. If not, don't do flame trees. They're going to run away on you, and then you have to spend a lot of money on arborists. And that's the case with eucalypts, it's the case with a lot of other trees. You need to know, have an estimate how much time you have in the future to stay on top of it. So that's quite important that you figure that out. So even so, it's a reset, it's not a totally new food forest, but because we opened it so much, we had room for another placenta or a group of annuals, placenta 1. So as we came in here planting these orange trees, we also put in potatoes, we put the broad beans in, which do make fruit now, and we put turnips in. So we have these turnips now, and we have potatoes. So obviously the harvest wouldn't be quite as much as if they are in the full sun. There's quite a lot of shade here. However, potatoes do tolerate quite a lot of shade for a stable crop. Yeah, they're most shade tolerant, and they love mulch. They don't need a seed bed, you know. You just plant one of those with a machete. You don't have to make a seed bed like for carrots or anything like that. And even so, the harvest is modest, but don't forget, they have worked for us like a green manure, that we now mulch back, right? And at the same time, they have provided us with a bit of a meal for each plant. And what was the work that went into that? Nothing, apart from putting one potato in here as we planted the tree, or as we mulched the other ones. We put one potato in here and that's it. Nothing else required. And now we take that out. That sounds almost like a hedge fund. And as Ernst says, the weeding is our harvest. So that's what we're doing here. As we do an intervention, we harvest food. come by and see us again. You think they're more like, So yeah, look at that makeover in just 1 hour. What looked a total menace, actually when you know what you're doing and you have experience, goes really fast and it's fun. It's sort of hard to stop us now. But we're done with the triangle, with the lower medium level. And what we have left now is some flame tree. And ideally between the fruit trees and the flame tree there should be 1 meter difference still. Some of them are too short, like this one, to do that. But here's our citrus tree, and it had now time to establish in the shade of the flame tree. But we want to open a bit now, but we still leave most branches up to give us that umbrella for the rest of summer. And then in autumn, we're gonna take all these branches off -1. That's how we manage the flame tree. So for now, we still want the umbrella. So we leave most of the branches on, but we just do a bit of a crown lift so we can easier work around them. So what we do now is what we reach, we cut off, and then in autumn we bring the ladder here and take it another bit higher. By that time the fruit trees have gone also up higher, and then we need to leave that gap again. So that's how we do it, and I hope you enjoyed it. Please leave feedback in the comment section. And if you have any in-depth questions, remember in the second tier we have question and answer sessions, so hope to meet you there. They're always great fun. And we're gonna wrap up, we're gonna take some of those branches down now, and then we're gonna sit down and eat some of our potatoes.